Welcome to the GSMC Pets Podcast, the show that caters to pet lovers of all kinds. We'll talk about pets on social media, pets doing amazing things, and how to take care of the pets in your life. Whether your pet is a dog, a cat, a llama, hamster, reptile, or something more exotic, you'll find educational and entertaining information on the GSMC Pets Podcast.
And we are back, my friends. Welcome back to another GSMC Pet Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Taylor Cowan. And here we are, yet again. It's a Tuesday. When you're listening, I record these on a Monday. But you'll be listening on a hopefully sunny Tuesday. It's a little rainy where I'm at. But the weather's fine. The weather's fine. It's actually nice because it gets too hot for me when there's no cloud cover. Hope everyone had a good week. We got an interesting episode today. I'm going to talk about the world's best zoos today for as long as I can. And then, we'll move on to something else. But let's just dive right in. We got a top 10 list here. So this will probably take about the first half of the episode. Number 10. Is the Beijing Zoo in, Beijing, China. Located in the Xicheng district of Beijing, China. The Beijing Zoo is one of the oldest zoos in the country. China's a big place, folks. China is a big place with lots of people. That means something. One of the oldest zoos in the country. And that doesn't mean it's bad. Doesn't mean it's outdated. I'm sure they have, iPod dispensing vending machines and whatever. Everything you expect from China. It was founded in 1906 when the country was still under the control of the Qing dynasty and expands across an area of 89 hectares, including 5.6 hectares of lakes and ponds alone. Yes, plenty of lakes, plenty of ponds. How big's a hectare? I don't know. I don't know who wrote this article, but they are using the metric system, which I don't understand, nor do I care to. They have over 450 species of land animals and 500 aquatic species list among the treasured inhabitants of the zoo. It is one of the biggest attractions in the city, drawing over 6 million annual visitors. Yes. The most popular exhibits of the Beijing Zoo include the species that are endemic to the nation of mainland China. Jeez, I can barely speak today. Such as the giant panda. We all love pandas, right? The Chinese giant salamanders, gross, Chinese alligators, South China tigers, Tibetan gazelles, kiangs, and others. I don't know what a kiang is. Seems like just another version of a gazelle, if you ask me. Next, after the Beijing Zoo, number 9, is the Smithsonian National Zoological Park in Washington, D.C. I've been to this one, and you know what the most exciting part about this zoo is for me? Is when you get off the subway to get there, I believe they may have what is the world's longest escalator. It's got to be in the top 10 longest escalators in the world. It's huge. And it's just a fun little ride. Just a fun little ride for everyone wants to hop on board. The 163-acre Smithsonian National Zoological Park, located in Rock Creek Park, Washington, D.C., attracts around 2 million visitors each year. Ooh, not quite as much as Beijing's. Sorry, D.C. The zoo hosts over 2,000 animals, belonging to around 400 species About a quarter of these species have been classified into either endangered or threatened categories of animals. So that's interesting. You may see something you never see again. All right. These include giant pandas, Asian elephants, Sumatran tigers, and African lions. Ooh. I was under the impression that all lions were African. Am I wrong? I mean, there's not like a Russian lion, is there? I don't know. The best news for potential visitors to the zoo is that it requires no entry fee, baby. It's free to enter. You just walk right in. You don't say anything to anyone. You don't exchange any money. You can buy a snow cone there. That might cost you some money. Save your money for a snow cone or a hot dog. And that's about it. It's free to go to it. It's a fun zoo. I've been there before. It is, in fact, a great zoo. The whole Smithsonian thing is awesome, and they're all free. 8. Oh, geez. All right. I don't know how to say this version of zoo. Number 8 is the Zoologischer Garten in Berlin, Germany. The Berlin Zoological Garden and Aquarium, in German it is said, let's see if I can pull this off. Zoologischer Garten und Aquarium Berlin in Germany. In German. Oh. It's the oldest zoo in Germany. Berlin Zoological Garden was founded by the Prussian King Friedrich William IV and formally opened operations for the first time in 1844. World War II had a devastating impact on the zoo, killing most of the animals, with only 91 surviving the bloody conflict. Well, that's what happens. The rebuilding of the zoo began in 1952, and today it houses around 1,600 animals. That's way more than the DC Zoo. Belonging to some 1,500 distinct species. That's right, distinct, folks. You're not just going to see a bunch of deer. The aquarium at the zoo exhibits unique and elusive aquatic species as well, including piranhas, sharks, and fish, with many of the latter belonging to coral reef ecosystems. Isn't that fun? And that's all we have on the Zoologischer Garten in Berlin, Germany. But next, we got number 7. This is right here in the U.S. of A., baby. It's the Bronx Zoo. This is the one where the tiger got COVID. They had the COVID tigers at the Bronx Zoo, so I don't know if they're still open. Or can a human get COVID from a tiger? That's a good question. We may never know, because it's probably so unusual and rare. One of the oldest, founded in 1899, and largest, 265 acres, zoos in the United States. New York's Bronx Zoo also offers one of the best zoo experiences in the world. Over 6,000 animals are living here today. They thrive within their suitably recreated habitats, ranging from the African grasslands to the tropical rainforests of Asia. Millions of tourists flock to this zoo each year, with especially large crowds gathering at the zoo on Wednesdays and weekends, when entrance prices are discounted. Well, that's nice. Wednesdays, and it's discounted on the weekend? You'd think that's when they would have regular price. I don't know if I buy that. The Congo Gorilla Forest, with its animal feeding and species demonstration sessions, is one of the most popular attractions to be found at the Bronx Zoo. The zoo also played an important role in breeding wild bison, which were subsequently restocked into the wild in the early part of the 20th century. Breeding wild bison, huh? That's got to be an interesting pastime. I wonder what that looks like. I've seen horses go at it. It's not pretty. And then the Congo Gorilla Forest. I love gorillas. They just stand there. They're very proud. They eat grass and stuff, and they beat their chests. I've always wanted to have one kind of charge at me while I'm behind the glass, though. I don't want to open charge. I want a behind the glass charge. But that sounds all good and fun. It's the Bronx Zoo at number 7. We're going to take a quick break here. We got more zoos coming up. at least 6 more because it's a top 10 list. Stick around, and you'll hear from me in just a moment.
You really can't underestimate the importance of having the right creative work for your brand or your product. Whether it's a logo, a website, a book cover, or an ad campaign, you really need a quality design to make that big difference pop and deliver your overall engagement and success in a competitive market. That's where Design Crowd comes in. Design Crowd has over 750,000 designers from Sydney to San Francisco, ready to help you with awesome creative ideas. They make crowdsourcing work for you. So if you need a logo or you're working on your creative branding, you can go to designcrowd.com and post a brief describing the design you need. And then within about 2 to 7 days, you'll receive up to over 100 different designs from designers around the world. Then you pick the best design and approve payment to the designer. So you're only paying for the design that you want. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of freelancing and out of crowdsourcing. And you don't have to be a huge company like Harvard Business School to use Design Crowd, although they have used it as well. You can start a project on Design Crowd for as little as $99. And if you go right now to designcrowd.com/health and wellness or enter the promo code health and wellness on their website, then our health and wellness listeners will receive up to $150 off of your design project. That's designcrowd.com/health and wellness or entering that promo code health and wellness.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
We're back. It is the Pet Podcast. We're talking about zoos today. The best zoos to go to. Hopefully they'll all let us out of our houses soon. It'll be legal to leave again, and we can all go to the zoo and gawk at the captive animals in their homes. Throw bananas and, duck feed. You know those little quarter machines, you put a quarter in. You get a handful of what appears to be food. You can throw it at the ducks. Some zoos have that, not all of them do. We got 4 zoos on the list so far. That was Beijing Zoo, the Smithsonian National Park, the one in Germany, Zoologischer Garten, and of course the Bronx Zoo. It's a zoo out here. Next, number 6 on the list, the National Zoological Gardens in Pretoria, South Africa. The National Zoological Gardens of South Africa, commonly referred to as Pretoria Zoo, occupies 85 hectares of land in Pretoria, South Africa. Just give me acres. Just give me acres. It's giving me hectares and acres, and it just depends like what country it is. It's giving me their local measurement. I want acres. Acres gives me a better idea of what's actually going on here. The zoo houses a total of 9,087 animals, belonging to 705 species. The most popular attraction at the zoo includes the habitat there, recreating a large watering hole akin to those on the African savanna. The watering hole is inhabited by such endemic African species as cheetahs, African rhinos, giraffes, African elephants, and hippos. Now, can you just have these species walking around together? Is that what I'm getting here? That's kind of cool. So it's like a real watering hole, like you'd actually see in South Africa. Don't bother going out, wasting your time hopping in a Jeep, driving out into the desert to see a real one. Just go to the zoo. It's way easier. You can get a hot dog and a snow cone. And I worry about these hippos hanging out with giraffes and cheetahs. They're drinking from the thing. I watched a video the other day of hippos attacking a gazelle, and it was potentially the most horrifying thing I've ever seen in my life. Nightmare worthy. Hippos, they don't mess around, friends. They just come at you with full force, and they'll tear you to bits. They'll tear you right to bits. Next on the list, number 5, Taronga, Sydney, Australia. Yes, the Taronga Zoo. How do you say that in Australian? I don't have a very good Australian accent. Hey, Taronga. Let's go to the Taronga Zoo. Yeah, it's more British-ish. We won't keep trying that. In Sydney, Australia, offers one of the best zoo-going experiences in the world. This award-winning zoo, situated a mere 12-minute ferry ride away from the Taronga Quay House. Oh, the Taronga Quay. What's a quay? Anyways, houses over 4,000 animals. Australian native wildlife species, including kangaroos and koalas, call this zoo their home, alongside a large number of imported animals as well. Ooh, imports. How expensive and exotic. The zoo is also currently serving as the habitat for a large mixed-gender chimpanzee troop containing 19 chimpanzees individuals. That's just a recipe for disaster. These chimpanzees, they're going to get out, and we're going to have a Planet of the Apes situation going on. I know I've read about chimpanzees. I've talked about chimpanzees on the show before. They don't F around. They will rip your arms off and tear your eyes out. And it ain't going to be fun. But it seems like a cool thing to see in the zoo. It also is it is also the second zoo in the country to successfully breed a platypus. Yes! Finally. They're notoriously hard to breed. I know, I've tried. The Taronga Zoo is open all throughout the year. Taronga admission tickets fees include talks conducted by its zookeepers, as well as a ride on Sydney's only cable car, the Sky Safari, and various other forms of entertainment, like hot dogs and snow cones. That's what I'm talking about. Oh boy, here we go. Another this one's in Austria. That's why. It's a name quite like the German name. Let's see if I can pull this off. Number 4, Tiergarten Schönbrunn in Vienna, Austria. The Tiergarten Schönbrunn in Vienna has a long history. It dates back to, I'm not going to keep doing this. It dates back to July 31st, 1752. Whoa! That's pre-United States. Wow, the date when this zoo was officially founded, July 31st, 1752. That's crazy. That is just crazy. I wonder what they had back then. A few geese? At first, it was reserved only for the members of the royal family in the region. Oh, there we go. But later opened its doors to the public, a.k.a. the peasants. This centuries-old zoo is today one of Europe's most modern zoos and was voted as the best zoo in the region in both 2009 and 2010. Folks, best zoo in the region. Now, is that just Austria? I don't know. Maybe it's Germany too. Who knows? But it's better than any of those Dutch zoos, I'll tell you that. More than 500 species living at Tiergarten, with Siberian tigers, hippos, pandas, and rhinoceros being at the top of most people's watch lists. Of course, everyone wants to see. No one cares about the geckos or the spiders. No one gives them enough, the time of day, even. It's a shame. The zoo is divided into several zoogeographical regions, each with their own micro-environments and unique inhabitants. Yes. Isn't that nice? We're getting close to the end here. We've got the Chester Zoo, Upton by Cheshire, England, UK. Is Upton by Cheshire the name of the town? Very confused. I don't know England very well. They've got all these long named towns. Upton by Cheshire. That's the name of two towns. All right. The Chester Zoo, founded by George Mottersheed and his family at Upton by Chester in Cheshire, England, opened its doors to the public in 1931. Currently, the North of England Zoological Society, an organization financed by charitable funding, operates the zoo. More than 1.4 million, baby, visitors are reported to have visited the Chester Zoo in 2014, making it the most popular zoo in the whole of England. It is considered to be the first zoo in the United Kingdom to successfully breed Asian elephants. Ha! Take that, China. Chester houses over 20,000 animals, belonging to more than 500 species. Such animal-themed areas as the Spirit of the Jaguar, the Realm of the Red Ape, and Tsavo Rhino Experience, the Chimpanzee Breeding Center. Oh, that sounds like an interesting thing to watch, too. And the Mikomazi National Park Painted Dogs Conserve. Jeez. Are some of the most prominent exhibits of this zoo. Wow. I am just schwitzing to go to the Chester Zoo, Upton by Cheshire, England, UK. Folks, we're going to take another quick break. We got commercials coming up. Hang in there. We got 2 more zoos left on the list. And then we'll dive deeper into the winning zoo, the best zoo in the world. Talk to you in a sec.
You really can't underestimate the importance of having the right creative work for your brand or your product. Whether it's a logo, a website, a book cover, or an ad campaign, you really need a quality design to make that big difference pop and deliver your overall engagement and success in a competitive market. That's where Design Crowd comes in. Design Crowd has over 750,000 designers from Sydney to San Francisco ready to help you with awesome creative ideas. They make crowdsourcing work for you. So if you need a logo or you're working on your creative branding, you can go to designcrowd.com and post a brief describing the design you need. And then within about 2 to 7 days, you'll receive up to over 100 different designs from designers around the world. Then you pick the best design and approve payment to the designer. So you're only paying for the design that you want. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of freelancing and out of crowdsourcing. And you don't have to be a huge company like Harvard Business School to use Design Crowd, although they have used it as well. You can start a project on Design Crowd for as little as $99. And if you go right now to designcrowd.com/health and wellness or enter the promo code health and wellness on their website, then our health and wellness listeners will receive up to $150 off of your design project. That's designcrowd.com/health and wellness or entering that promo code health and wellness.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
We've made it, folks. We are nearing the end of the list. We're going to approach the best zoos in the world through my voice. We're not actually going to approach them. You can look at them on Google Maps. Some of them are even open now. I don't know. Maybe you can leave your house and go see them. Let's do a quick recap of the top 10. Number 10, the Beijing Zoo in Beijing, China. Number 9, the Smithsonian National Zoological Park in Washington, D.C., USA. Number 8, the Zoologische Garten in Berlin, Germany. Number 7, it's the Bronx Zoo in New York, USA. Number 6, the National Zoological Gardens in Pretoria, South Africa. Number 5, Taronga, Sydney, Australia. Number 4, Tiergarten Schönbrunn in Vienna, Austria. Number 3, the Chester Zoo, Upton by Cheshire, England, UK. And number 2. Did I just call number 3 number 2? I can't remember. Doesn't matter. This is actually number 2. Another one I said was number 3. Number 2 is the Singapore Zoo. You guessed it, baby. It's in Singapore. The Singapore Zoo is said to be the second best in the world, and its animal exhibits are truly amazing. The zoo is divided into 11 ecological zones with recreated habitats to house the respective species of each region. The fragile forest, mimicking the rainforest habitat. The frozen tundra, housing the polar bear and other Arctic species. The primate kingdom, with its 39 primates on their own separate islands. And the reptile garden, housing giant tortoises, Komodo dragons, and venomous snakes, are some of the premier attractions of this spectacular Asian zoo. The zoo is an ideal venue for family visits, with special programs geared just for children. Yes, just for the children. I don't know if there's any special programs geared just for adults. Doesn't seem like it. Maybe the hot dog and snow cone stand for this adult. These include the Kids Ranger Tour, which allows the kids to play the role of zookeeper. Yes, feed the tigers. They give kids a big slab of meat. They send him in the cage. Say, hey, buddy, good luck. He's hungry. Feed the chimps. The animal shows at the Singapore Zoo also offer memorable experiences to its many visitors. Wow. Wow. What a trip. And finally, folks, the number 1 zoo in the world. The number 1, the best zoo you could possibly go to is the San Diego Zoo in California, USA, 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 USA. Due to its appearance on lists time and time again, it's safe to say that the San Diego Zoo is the best zoo in the world. Who would have thought? I've been to this zoo, and it is rather amazing. It's been a long time. I was very young. I don't really remember it. I do remember the hot dogs and the snow cones, though, just being exquisite and memorable. Founded in 1916, the zoo is currently managed by the Zoological Society of San Diego. San Diego Zoo houses over 4,000 individual animals belonging to over 8 100 species. The zoo occupies an area of 100 acres within the city's Balboa Park, itself lying nestled amidst a picturesque landscape of hills and canyons. About 6,500 species of rare and unique vegetation cover much of the zoo's area as well. The zoo serves as the breeding grounds for a number of exotic species, including koalas, tigers, gorillas, giraffes, bonobos, Galapagos tortoises, and others. The recreated biogeographical habitats of San Diego Zoo, such as the tropical rainforest with its exotic animals and birds, the Arctic habitat with its polar bears and other Arctic species, and the Asian River habitat with its ferocious tigers, are some of the most popular attractions of the zoo. Wow. Wow, what an exciting list that was, folks. There it is. San Diego Zoo, baby. I kind of saw that coming. Everyone who knows anything about zoos knows that San Diego Zoo is the best, and that the USA, again, has topped the list of number one something or other. We're always on the top, folks, if you're listening in the United States. And, Singapore's good, too. All the other zoos are good, too. Austria, you seem like you have a great zoo. But lest we forget, the San Diego Zoo is the best. The best in the world. They got polar bears, koalas, tigers. Now, I did notice I didn't see Komodo dragons on there, which the Singapore Zoo has. I have always wanted to see a real life Komodo dragon. I'm never going to that island, Death Lizard Island. There's no way I'm going there where the Komodos actually live. So I want a chance to see them outside of their home. Now, and I'm wondering, 100 acres? That's pretty big. That's pretty dang big. I was thinking for a sec that doesn't seem as big as these other zoos, but 100 acres is huge. And that must be a giant park. How big is that park? What park was it again? Balboa Park. Balboa Park is the biggest park, has the biggest zoo, and the best zoo. San Diego's Zoo. At the Zoo. Zoological Society of San Diego. Great zoo, folks. Have yourself a visit. We're about to hop into the next break here, and we're going to dive into the San Diego Zoo when I get back, because I think it deserves our utmost respect, our utmost care. Everyone should open your wallets, donate to the San Diego Zoo. Now, as for SeaWorld, San Diego SeaWorld, I have some less than niceties for you. SeaWorld San Diego. Free Willy. Free Willy is all I have to say about the San Diego SeaWorld. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Talk to you in a sec.
Is weird, odd, strange, or just plain bizarre is really your cup of tea? Then the Golden State Media Concepts Weird News Podcast will give you that fix. Can't believe it? Well, listen for yourself as we deliver the strangest news you definitely won't find on CNN or Fox. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Weird News Podcast.
We're back, baby. We're back. We're talking zoos, and we are now going to just dive in and get to know everything there is to know about the greatest zoo in the world. Yes, you heard it here first. No, probably not first, but the greatest zoo in the world, the San Diego Zoo. There's lots of information here. I could read this whole Wikipedia page, but it would take years and years and years. Years and years and years. So let's get into a bit of the history. The San Diego Zoo grew out of exotic animal exhibitions abandoned after the 1915 Panama, California Exposition. Dr. Harry M. Wedgeworth founded the Zoological Society of San Diego, meeting October 2nd, 1916, which initially followed precedents set by the New York Zoological Society at the Bronx Zoo. Oh, that's right. The world's best zoos stick together. He served as president of the society until 1941. A permanent tract of land in Balboa Park was set aside in August 1921 on the advice of the city attorney. It was agreed that the city would own all the animals and the zoo would manage them. The zoo began to move in the following year. In addition to the animals from the exposition, the zoo acquired a menagerie from the defunct Wonderland Amusement Park. Ellen Browning Scripps financed a fence around the zoo so that it could begin charging an entrance fee to offset costs. The publication of Zoo News commenced in early 1925. Animal collector Frank Buck went to work as the director of the San Diego Zoo on June 13, 1923, signed to a 3-year contract by Wedgeworth William T. Hornaday, director of the Bronx Zoo, had recommended Buck for the job. But Buck quickly clashed with the strong-willed Wedgeworth and left the zoo after 3 months to return to animal collecting. Isn't that all a zoo really is anyways? After several other equally short-lived zoo directors, Wedgeworth appointed the zoo's bookkeeper, Belle Benchley, to the position of executive secretary, in effect, the zoo director. She was given the actual title of zoo director a few years later. She served as zoo director from 1925 until 1953. For most of that time, she was the only female zoo director in the world. She was succeeded by director by Dr. Charles Schroeder. The San Diego Zoo was a pioneer in building cageless exhibits. Wedgeworth was determined to create moated exhibits from the start, and the first lion area at the San Diego Zoo was without enclosing wires, opened in 1922. I don't know if a moat's going to do it. I don't know if I trust a moat to protect me from the lions. Until the 1960s, admission for children under 16 was free, regardless of whether they were accompanied by a paying adult. The zoo's Center for Reproduction of Endangered Species was founded in 1975 at the urging of Kurt Benrischke, who became its first director. CRES was renamed the Division of Conservation and Research for Endangered Species in 2005 to better reflect its mission. In 2009, CRES was significantly expanded to become the Institute for Conservation Research. An orangutan named Ken Allen was reported in several newspapers in the summer of 1985 for repeatedly escaping from the supposedly escape-proof orangutan enclosure. Ken Allen. Wow. Sounds like a human name. We're sure he wasn't just a hairy human. Get me out of here. The world's only albino koala in a zoological facility was born September 1st, 1997 at the San Diego Zoo and was named Onya Biri, which means ghost boy in an Australian Aboriginal language. The San Diego Zoo has the largest number of koalas outside of Australia. Wow. In 2004, a colony of African penguins arrived for the first time at the zoo since 1979. They have since moved into Africa Rocks when it opened in 2017. And in 2016, Baba, the last pangolin on display in North America at the time, died at the zoo. Pangolins, they're kind of like weird anteaters mixed with what'd you call it? They roll up. Armadillo. They're armadillo anteaters, as far as I'm concerned. However, we need to do some more research here into old Ken Allen. Ken Allen, the amazing escape artist orangutan. Ken Allen born February 13th, 1971, died December 1st, 2000, was a Bornean orangutan at the San Diego Zoo. He became one of the most popular animals in the history of the zoo because of his many successful escapes from his enclosures. He was nicknamed the Hairy Houdini. I wish I could have known Ken Allen. Ken Allen was born in captivity at the San Diego Zoo in 1971. During the 1980s, Ken Allen gained worldwide attention for a series of 3 escapes from his enclosure, which had been thought to be escape-proof. During some of his escapes, his female companions would join him. Ken Allen's ability to outwit his keepers, as well as his docile demeanor during the escapes, resulted in fame. He had his own fan club and was the subject of T-shirts and bumper stickers, most reading "Free Ken Allen." I wonder if I can get one of these Free Ken Allen shirts. I think we should reboot that. A song, "The Ballad of Ken Allen," was written about him. Who wrote the song "The Ballad of Ken Allen"? Bob Dylan? Ken Allen developed prostate cancer and was euthanized on December 1st, 2000. He was 29 years old. Ken Allen, the people of the United States, our hearts remain with you. Ken Allen Harambe, Ken Allen Harambe. Escapes. During his 1985 escapes, first on June 13th, again on July 29th, and finally again on August 13th. Oh, this is a lot. 1 year. Ken Allen would peacefully stroll around the zoo, looking at other animals. Ken never acted violently or aggressively towards zoo patrons or animals. Yes, that is correct, Ken Allen. And Harambe should still be alive. Zookeepers were initially stumped over how Ken Allen had managed to escape. Zoo staff began surveillance of his enclosure to try and catch him in the act, only to find that Ken Allen seemed to be aware that he was being watched. Ken Allen doesn't mess around, you understand? Zookeepers, you can't keep Ken Allen in. Ken Allen is a god among men. He knows he's being watched. I know I'm being watched. Government. I'm trying to escape, but I'm not going to because I know I'm being watched. This forced zookeepers to go undercover, posing as tourists to learn Ken Allen's escape route. But the ape was not fooled. Moreover, other orangutans began following Ken Allen's lead, escaping from their enclosure. Zoo officials eventually hired experienced rock climbers to find every finger, toe, and foothold within the enclosure, spending $40,000 to eliminate the identified holds. So, Ken Allen was just an amazing climber. I work at a climbing gym. I'd like to bring Ken Allen in there. See how he, I bet he'd have the time of his life. All hail Ken Allen. All hail Harambe. Ken Allen Harambe. Ken Allen Harambe. Time magazine in 2011 listed Ken Allen's story as one of the top 11 zoo escapes. Well, that seems like an interesting topic. We're going to take another quick break here. And when we get back, we're going to go look at this Time magazine's top 11 zoo escapes. God bless Ken Allen. Talk to you in a minute.
The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast, the show that gives you advice on everything travel. We explore places you've always wanted to go, as well as giving tips for traveling in those places. We'll give you advice on the best sites for travel tips, information, and discounts. Join us as we travel the world, explore cultures, and meet new people. The Golden State Media Concepts Travel Podcast has got you covered. Download the GSMC Travel Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. All hail Ken. All hail Harambe. Ken Allen, baby. Ken Allen. Speaking of Ken Allen, we're talking about zoo escapes now. The best zoo escapes, because these are the animals that you want to run your business. These are the entrepreneurs of the animal kingdom, the grinders, the money makers. These are the ones who are going to successfully live their lives. They don't want to be in a cage. They're reading Plato. They're reading Aristotle. They're saying, free my mind, free me from this cage. First on the list, Zim the monkey, Memphis Zoo. A very small, and according to zoo workers, very spirited macaque escaped its enclosure at the Memphis Zoo on July 9th, 2015. This 10-pound primate named Zim was described as harmless and probably escaped by climbing into a storm drain on the property. As of the next day, zookeepers were still searching for 3-year-old Zim. How are they in trying to entice her with all her favorite foods? Strawberries, apples, bananas, and peanuts. And that's where that article ends. All right, so presumably Zim is still out there, folks. Free in the world. Find him. Keep an eye out for Zim if you live in the Memphis area. He's probably hanging out at Graceland in one of Elvis's jets. Next is Rusty, the red panda from Washington, D.C. They're known for mostly lazing about during the day, their fur-covered bodies stretched over tree limbs. But one panda at the National Zoo in Washington, D.C. wasn't spotted in his normal habitat Monday morning. So the zoo took to Twitter to recruit the public's help. Accompanying a photo of the small woodland creature were the vitals, a missing red panda, a male named Rusty. He was last seen at 6 p.m. last night. Zookeepers wouldn't reveal just how the panda escaped or even if it left the premises. The National Zoo Twitter account kept loyal red panda watchers up to date on the search for Rusty. As word of the search quickly spread, D.C. residents vigilantly looked out for the adorable animal, which resembles a cross between a bear and a raccoon. In the early afternoon, a photo of Rusty scampering through a residential neighborhood was posted on Twitter. Given the rarity of red pandas, it was very likely Rusty. Within an hour, animal control teams had captured him and put him in a crate, promptly herding him back to the zoo. God bless you, Rusty. I'm sorry you had to go back. The red panda has little in common with its giant black and white cousin aside from a common Chinese heritage, but Rusty hails from Nebraska, arriving in D.C. 2 months ago. His impromptu tour of this new city has come to a safe end. Free Rusty. Free Rusty and free Ken Allen. Next, the Humboldt penguin in Tokyo. Oh, this is very much, what's that movie? Madagascar. The zookeepers at Tokyo Sea Life Park might have been a little bit baffled when they received an emailed photo on March 4th of one of their Humboldt penguins swimming in a nearby river. Upon counting their chicks, they discovered they were indeed one short of the 135 that usually roam the exhibit. See, that's how that would easily be missed. There's 135 of them. The missing 1-year-old penguin had somehow managed to scale a rock nearly twice its height. Remember, penguins can't fly. And chart a course around Tokyo Bay. After it was spotted by a director of another zoo nearby who sent the photo, a widespread recovery mission commenced to find the tuxedoed fugitive. But zoo officials discouraged untrained locals from attempting to catch the speedy swimmer and plan to recapture the bird when it returns to land to sleep. So my assumption is, if the article doesn't say that it was found, that it's just still out there or got eaten by a shark or something. I don't know what they have in Tokyo, eaten by a dolphin. I thought penguins and dolphins were allies. And I like how the other zoo director sent them a photo. Was like, wow, get your crap together, you guys. Oh, look at this. Look who escaped from the competing zoo. Next, Egyptian cobra, the Bronx, New York. This is horrifying. This is the worst. How do you let this out? Endangering all of New York. It's one thing to see a television news report showing clips of animal control officials trying to capture an escaped zebra or monkey. Those are storybook animals. But it's an entirely different thing when a zoo loses a snake. Some of the biggest and bravest people are terrified of the scaly reptiles. So when the Bronx Zoo shuttered its World of Reptiles exhibit on March 26th with postings that read, "Staff observed an adolescent Egyptian cobra missing," panic spread across New York City for fear that the highly venomous snake would turn up where it didn't belong. Yeah, like anywhere outside of its cage. Idiots. Zoo director Jim Braheny tried to allay fears by explaining that the snake was more than likely somewhere in the reptile house and that because of the animal's size, it's less than 2 foot long and pencil thin, finding the serpent was proving more difficult than they had imagined. In a statement posted on the zoo's website, Braheny wrote, "Right now, it's the snake's game. At this point, it's just like fishing. You put the hook in the water and wait. It's the snake's game, all right. Or the fake snake's game. Some clever opportunist created a fake Twitter feed called Bronx Zoo Cobra to poke fun at the situation. The tweets are amusing, but let's hope the snake didn't sliver over to the zoo's nearby mouse house. Once again, my assumption is they never found the snake, because it doesn't say they found it. We'll never know. Someone in the Bronx knows. It's got an Egyptian cobra in their house hanging out. Next on the list, before we take a quick break, Goldie the Eagle. This is in London. Goldie the Golden Eagle escaped from the London Zoo on February 28th, 1965, while his cage was being cleaned. He swooped and soared around Regent's Park, evading capture for 12 days, despite attempts by police, firefighters, and even an intrepid BBC reporter wielding an Ethiopian bird pipe to snag him. An Ethiopian bird pipe? What is that? Hey, buddy, want a hit? Hey, dude. Come get some. The London public adored Goldie. A reported 5,000 people turned out to see the free bird in action, causing serious traffic jams around Regent's Park. Goldie was eventually recaptured by Joe McCory, deputy head zookeeper of birds of prey at the zoo. Enticed by a dead rabbit, Goldie swooped to the ground, and McCory caught him with his bare hands. 10 months later, Goldie escaped again, this time for only 4 days. We need more Goldies in the world, folks. We need more gumption. We need more courage. Free yourself. Free yourself like Goldie the Eagle did. We're going to take one final quick break, and we'll be back with the end of the top zoo animal escapes. See you in a sec.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now. Don't bother. What's hot on Netflix and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Hey! Break's over. We got a few more animals to go through here. The heroes of the animal world. Like Ken Allen. Ken Allen, my hero. And he escaped the zoo and Harambe, who escaped the zoo into heaven. Next, Cyril the sea lion, Ontario. On June 17th, 1958, a sea lion by the name of Cyril managed to swim away from the premises of the Storybook Garden Zoo in London, Ontario. The creature, whose natural home lay by the islands near San Francisco, voyaged through the waters of Lake Erie, traversed an international boundary, and was found lolling about near a boathouse in Sandusky, Ohio. Cyril was then transferred to the nearby Toledo Zoo, but he didn't stay long. Within weeks, he was sent back to Canada. But as of July 1st, 1958 article in the Toledo Blade pointed out, Cyril could have been Toledo's to keep 60 years earlier. In 1898, a New York Supreme Court had ruled out a similar case of runaway sea lion and proclaimed that wild animals which escape from their owners are no longer the property of their former owners. Yet Cyril was returned anyway. Chalk it up to a good cross-border relations. I think that law needs to be reenacted. You escape, you're good. You're free to go. Goes for prisoners, too. Next on the list, Evelyn the gorilla, Los Angeles. The Los Angeles Zoo has seen its fair share of escapes. See Virginia the wolf, also on this list. But nothing comes close to the rash of animals, including zebras, chimps, kangaroos, and antelopes, that cunningly make a run for it in the late 1990s and early 2000s. Come on, L.A. Jeez, pull it together. The Los Angeles Times reported that in the span of half a decade, at least 35 animals escaped the zoo, including the infamous gorilla Evelyn. Over the years, Evelyn escaped her enclosure some 4 or 5 times. Once she jumped into another gorilla's back to hop over the wall. Another time, she used some overgrown vines to pull herself out of her exhibit. She then had a full run of the zoo for an hour as TV newscopters hovered overhead and visitors were evacuated. Yeah. I think once you have 35 animals escape from your zoo in 5 years, you lose your zoo license. How about that? How about that's a new rule? And they get to go free. God bless you, Evelyn. God bless. Next on the list, we got buffalo, hippopotamus, and agouti in San Francisco. California, control your animals. Be more like San Diego. The thing about being a zookeeper is that you're really effective only if you're able to keep the animals in the zoo. Yes, loser zookeepers. In July 1964, a zookeeper at the Fleshhacker Zoo, now the San Francisco Zoo, had a really bad day. First, he got a call from the police saying they had captured 13 buffalo that zoo director Kerry Baldwin didn't even know were missing. Fired. 5 hours later, he received another call. This time, again, unbeknownst to Baldwin, a 300-pound pygmy hippopotamus had escaped and was taking a stroll down a nearby road. A short while later, a large South American rodent called an agouti made a run for it. A dramatic chase ensued, and the little guy was eventually captured. At the end of the day, Baldwin told the Associated Press he would review the zoo's security. Oh, good. Is that what you're going to do? Kane the orangutan is on the zoo. Ken Allen, baby. Ken Allen. Next on the list is Leona the penguin, Germany. It could have been a disaster. But thanks to some good fortune and a bunch of fish, a curious young penguin survived a trip to the lion's den. Ooh. The African penguin, just a few months old, kicked off 2011 by waddling out of its enclosure at the Munster Zoo in Germany and was exploring the wider zoo world when it ended up in the lion's territory. The cats, as luck and feline habits would have it, were asleep, and zookeepers eventually managed to get the flightless bird out of harm's way with a trail of herrings. The penguin, formerly known as number 459, has since been dubbed Leona. Well, good for you, Leona the penguin. I'm glad you didn't get eaten by lions. I wish you could have escaped the zoo. Rhesus monkeys, Long Island, New York. When an employee of Frank Buck's Jungle Camp Animal Park near Amityville in New York's Long Island accidentally left a plank across an exhibit moat, Capone, the rhesus monkey, led 172 of his cohorts out of the park and into the woods. Crossing a set of the Long Island Railroad tracks, the small monkeys chased away a set of train workers and stopped the progress of a locomotive for at least 5 minutes. That's pretty cool. I like this. See, Planet of the Apes stuff. I'm talking about that one zoo with the 19 chimps just living together, cohabitating and, what's the word I'm looking for? Scheming. Money and season passes were offered to anyone fleet enough to catch the swift simians and return them to the park. Is that really a good idea? To just be like, hey, we'll give you money if you can catch them. Every citizen out. Is that really safe? And finally, the final great escape on the list. Virginia the wolf of Los Angeles. Wolves are not supposed to be able to climb trees or fences. But a wolf named Virginia chose not to abide by nature's rules. Is that really what nature's rules? Come on. God was writing something down at the beginning of time, being like, wolves shan't climb trees or fences. Where are we? Virginia chose not to abide by nature's rules and escaped to the Los Angeles Zoo in 1979 multiple times by ascending trees, climbing fences, and walking along branches toward her eventual freedom. At one point, she eluded veterinarians and zoo officials for a month. They spotted Virginia occasionally and tried to subdue her with tranquilizer guns, to no avail. A zookeeper at the time joked that Los Angeles had the largest wolf exhibit in the world, 4,000 acres, in nearby Griffith Park. It's unclear whether Virginia was ever recaptured. What do you mean it's unclear? If they captured her, they didn't. By unclear, they mean no. They never captured Virginia the wolf. And good for her. Good for her. She's probably living in a nice suburban backyard now with a loving family and some children. They walk out and they pet her and they say, hey, good for you, Virginia. We love you. I guess this was in 1979, so maybe not. It's unclear whether they ever captured her or not. Yeah, is that what they told the press when the press came asking? Have you found the wolf? Well, it's unclear whether we found her or not. Let's just assume we did. Well, folks, that's the end of the episode. We'll be back later this week. More content for you, more pet podcast. Remember to go over to our Twitter page, our Facebook page, our Instagram page, like, subscribe, leave us a 5-star review wherever you're listening. Thank you again for tuning in to the GSMC Pet Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I like you more than a friend. Good night.
You've been listening to the GSMC Pets Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all of the shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, from business news to weird news. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's podcast.